What's up, baseball players? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, let's talk about pitches that hitters are going to hammer. So these are the three main locations that you really want to stay away from if you want to have success on the mound. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Coach Dan. I'm a former pro pitcher. I'm the author of 2 baseball books, which you'll find in the description below. I put out new videos on pitching strategy, arm care, strength training, all that stuff, mechanics each week. So definitely stick around, subscribe to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 3 pitches that hitters really hit hard. All right, so the first and most obvious location is in the center of the plate. And it really doesn't make a difference if it's at the bottom of the strike zone or the top part of the strike zone. If you want to be successful as a pitcher, once you get ahead, and I do advocate for giving yourself a lot of margin for error and aiming down the middle a lot of times on first pitches so you can get ahead in the count. But once you get ahead, you really need to stay out of the middle. So that's an obvious one. We won't spend any time on that. But obviously, a lot of times when pitchers are getting hit hard, they just sometimes forget that, look, you got to stay out of the middle of the plate. The next location is inner half. So there's a big difference, and this is something that you have to really start thinking about as you get older, is slicing up the plate into thirds and staying away from especially the inner half. So inner third, this is the inner third. So if I'm inner third, I've got to get my barrel really far out in front to hit it solid and make hard contact. If I'm throwing a pitch on the inner half is like everyone's happy zone. You only have to be a little bit far out in front of the plate. You can easily pull it. You can still drive it to center field. Basically, if hitters were asking for perfect batting practice in like the home run derby, they want pitches about middle in or inner half. Same thing, it's the same term. So when you go inside, you have to understand that you don't just go inside a little bit unless they're crowding the plate. And I'll put a link in the description below about my other video about how the center of the plate moves depending on the hitter's stance. So if I'm crowding the plate like I am right now, the inner half of the plate is essentially the inner third to me. If I'm in a normal spot, the inner third is a little more typical. But basically, what you need to understand is if you're going to go inside, inner half is a really dangerous part of the plate. Basically, you never choose to throw a fastball inner half. You always choose to go inner third or farther in, depending on the count and the situation. But again, if you go for inner half, it's not far enough in to jam a guy, and it's really, really a happy zone. And the last fastball location that you're really going to get hurt on is kind of up and outer half or up and outer third. So when you get up to here around the letters, yeah, it gets faster essentially. The hitter's got to get his barrel up and he's got to get out in front of the plate. But when you're in the outer half and leaking into the outer third, the hitter can be a little bit late to barrel it up because it's going to be an opposite field contact point. So they can be here instead of having to be here. And a lot of times when you're not throwing way harder than they can handle and you go up in the zone into that outer half, outer third, they can be a little bit late and just sort of like let their barrel catch up, and that ball is going to fly into the right center gap, and it lines up really well with the right center gap. So that pitch is going to be a little deeper on the plate. They can wait, and it allows them to get around on a little bit. So to summarize these fastball locations, and I'm going to jump to breaking balls in a second, obviously the middle, you got to stay out of the middle. Inner half is a no-no. If you go inside, you got to go at least to the inner third. And when you go outside, obviously outer half's not great either, but especially when you climb the ladder, outer half, outer third, it gets hard because guys can easily lift that ball. They can be a little bit late on it, so it feels a little bit slower to the hitter, and they can just push that ball into the right center gap kind of all day. It's not too bad of a location for them to drive. The next thing I want to mention is that pitching down the zone has taken some heat in recent years because with spin rate and all the new metrics that we all start to understand, we realize that there is some value pitching up in the zone. But for young pitchers, for amateur pitchers, pitching down the zone is going to give them a lot of success for the most part. You're rarely going to ground one of the, a chest high fastball into the ground. This is almost never going to become a ground ball. It will sometimes, but for the most part, when they miss it, if they miss it anywhere on the upper half of the bat, the ball is going to go in the air. So pitches at the belt and up, they often become extra base hits when they're hit hard. Pitches down, when you're at high levels of baseball, sure, Mike Trout can easily scoop, and any big league hitter can easily scoop a pitch at the bottom of the strike zone, lift it, put it out of the ballpark. That's not a problem. But for younger hitters who have a tougher time getting the barrel to the ball and being accurate with their barrel, pitches down are going to become ground balls. They're going to miss-hit them, and they're going to bounce them rather than lifting them. So the better hitters are going to be able to still lift pitches down the zone. But at the end of the day, if you want to get ground balls, keep the ball out of the air. Going up is not going to solve that problem. Going down and changing speeds is going to solve that problem. And the last point I want to mention in this video is that pitching up in the zone is a really bad idea with sinkers and sliders and cutters, and basically any breaking ball in general. But breaking balls middle and up are gonna get you hurt because you tend to get around them, you're behind them a little more, and they spin and they just hang up in the air. Cutters and sinkers, you're also not gonna be able to get on top of it to get the spin that it needs to go down the zone and really get that sinking action, that running action, that cutting action. So if you wanna be successful throwing your off-speed stuff, you have to learn to pitch down the zone and get on top of the pitch to give it the spin that it needs, all right? So hopefully today's video was helpful. Obviously there's locations that you want to hit if you want to be a good pitcher, and there's locations that you need to stay out of. And again, it's not so much pitch dependent as it is location dependent. Stay out of the middle, stay out of the inner half, stay out of the upper part of the strike zone if you don't have the stuff to get outs there, all right? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.